So domestic violence is a very painful reality in many women's lives, both in Malaysia and, for that matter, worldwide. You cannot belong to a women's NGO and not be cognizant of the issue of family violence. Coping with the abuse is one thing, but for the victim to navigate the system and the process of seeking help can be equally traumatic, or at the very least very confusing. We've been very privileged that, on behalf of Johor, we're very happy that all you NGOs, there are at least 8 organizations represented here. So we need to network, but at the same time, it's very important that we be knowledge-driven and data-driven in our work. We are volunteers. That doesn't mean we can be chinchai or we can be emotional, and not everything is about emotional support. From today's session, today morning session, a lot of it is to do with the law, to do with facts.
Now, according to police national statistics, over the last 13 years, there's an average of between 8 to 9 cases having been reported daily. Now, domestic violence can affect every member in the household, be they male or female, and we know that a large majority of domestic violence victims are really women in the household. Now, over the last 3 years, there has been a steady increase in victims lodging reports in police reports over domestic violence, from over 3,000 cases in 2010 to almost 3,500 cases in 2012. Now, we know that many victims don't report domestic violence, and we know that not many of the victims realize just to what extent domestic violence can escalate. And keeping quiet about the violence only allows the perpetrator to continue to be abusive. The damage inflicted on the victim can take a variety of forms, and in the worst case scenario, it can result in the death of a victim. And this year already we've had at least 4 cases of domestic violence related deaths. So in the course of WCC's work in Penang, both on the island and the mainland, we deal regularly with victims of domestic violence, many of whom who have suffered in silence for many years. We know that many of them are not empowered enough to seek help, or maybe they don't have sufficient support to seek help. They may lack family support, they may not have financial independence, they may fear the social stigma of a broken marriage, or they may fear being blamed for the violence. Now, some may want to leave the violent situation, but there are no safe shelters to go to. Others are unaware that there is actually help available at the one-stop crisis centers in the emergency and trauma unit at government hospitals. Furthermore, when women do come forward to lodge reports to seek help, agencies which are designated to help victims must do so. Victims of domestic violence seeking help must be informed about their rights to interim protection orders and must be helped to access such protection. According to a newspaper report in Star last week, the Deputy Minister of the Ministry of Women, Family and Community Development said that less than 8.5% of cases reported resulted in prosecution, and of that 4.2% resulted in a conviction. If this is indeed the case, then there really is a need for better implementation and enforcement of the laws pertaining to domestic violence, and proactiveness on the part of service providers in agencies and in NGOs helping women to provide protection for the victims and uphold their rights. As Tanam said earlier, we must all bear in mind that domestic violence is not a single agency issue. That means everyone has to work towards putting a stop towards domestic violence.